Hi, my name is Connie Boyer, and I'm running to be your mayor of Fairfield, Iowa. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up here in Fairfield. My dad always said I'm a sixth-generation Jefferson County resident. I'm proud of that fact. I graduated from Fairfield High School. I also have a long banking career here in town and also another small town before I came to Fairfield. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin's Graduate of Banking School and their Financial Manager School. I worked at Iowa State Bank here in town for almost 24 years. Two positions that I held there were Vice President of Operations, and also I left as CFO of the holding company, Iowa State Financial Services. I currently am a financial advisor with Edward Jones, helping families reach their financial goals. What I've done in the community is varied, and I've also been on the council for 2 different terms. I came in 2003 to take Mr. Tom Stanley's place when he resigned, and I served on that council for about 4 years, and then I left to start a business. And then when Mr. Myron Gukin became a judge, I came back in to fill his term, which was in 2011 through 2013. I enjoyed both of those experiences. The second time I was on the council, I also filled in for Mr. Ed Malloy as Mayor Pro Tem and enjoyed that experience. Since then, I've also thought that I might be interested for running for mayor when Ed decided to discontinue. And so now is the time for me to participate, and I'm happy to step up and fill in that role. I feel like I represent the community pretty well because I've been here all of my life, and I know a lot of people from all facets of the community, and I look forward to working for you. So let me tell you a little bit about some of the other things that I've done. I was on the Convention Visitors Bureau for about 10 years, their board, and I've been past president of Rotary 2 times. I was a founding member of the Fairfield Cultural Alliance and helped start their endowment fund. I've been on several other boards, currently serving on the Fairfield Library Foundation Board. Fairfield has a great history of small business, excellent education, people seeking higher values, their spiritual values, their church, and also farming in this area in Jefferson County. And I want to see those areas continue. So my vision for Fairfield is to grow, not only grow in many ways, but grow in population. That can help lower our tax base, or our property taxes. We want to expand that tax base to help lower our property taxes. We know that's an issue, and we know it's becoming a pinch for some people. I want to continue progress on much needed infrastructure, such as streets. Fairfield needs to look better. We want the streets to look better, and we want our homes to look better. That's something that I'm hearing regularly, is people are concerned about our older housing stock and just in general how Fairfield looks. There's a lot of creativity here and a lot of good things happening here, but also just that reflection of what's here. We need to bring that level up. I want to fully support our police and our fire, our first responders, our ambulance service. Fairfield has a drug problem that we need to work on. This morning I was speaking to someone about the heroin problem that's in Fairfield, which I did not realize. I knew that we had a meth problem, but we also have a heroin problem, it sounds like. And I am concerned. A dozen police officers can't fix that problem. We must come together as a community to do that together. We must bring our school system together and our hospitals and our mental health workers. We need a task force to start tackling this problem and helping our young people so that they can have better lives. And we've got to keep our young people off drugs, because once they start, it's really hard to get them off. So we need to work harder as a community to do that. Certainly we want to balance budgets, and we want to have transparency in our city government. When I was on council before, we had very tight budgets. We had to use the emergency fund. Now, this was in the early 2000s. Fortunately, we're not in that position now. It's a little bit easier. But we were using emergency funds at that time, and we had to work very hard, and we had to cut a lot of budgets at that time. So again, we need to continue that work. The city's done good work over the last few years to help the reserve funds, and now those are looking great. And I thank the council for their hard work, and the departments. They deserve a lot of credit because they've gone without things that they needed, and they've gone without raises. And so again, I want to thank the city departments for their participation in making that better. We need affordable, diversified housing in Fairfield. And that means a lot of different things. We need to change the city code or update the city code to allow for some of those things. We might have a section of town that we might want to build tiny homes or smaller homes. There are smaller lots around town that we can't build on because of the setbacks. So we need to allow for some of those things going forward. In fact, we've talked about the city code being updated for many years and never have gotten to that project. So the whole city code needs to be looked at and updated. But that's certainly one that needs updated and looked at. We need to update the strategic plan and the Go Green plan. Back in 2009, I was the co-chair of the Go Green plan. There's some things in there that maybe we didn't know very well at the time. We're much smarter now. But we need to update both of those plans so we can have a roadmap going forward. And we need people to be involved. So I'm going to be asking people, do you want to be part of a certain task force or part of the strategic plan? And I'm really hoping that people will step up and help in these areas. I would like to restart our volunteer center. I helped start that many years ago, and it did pretty well for a while, but we really didn't have a good source of funding to keep it going and keep it going well. So I'd like to restart that. And I feel through that there's many initiatives that we can do that are kind of outside the city's normal workings, but also be supportive. Have a good grant writer or 2 or 3 good grant writers to help us find grants for certain projects for the city. When I step back and think about the drug issue that we have, or for example, getting people out of poverty, how do we do that? It's a huge undertaking, and we'll take little steps at a time. It won't change overnight. But if we can find through the volunteer center people who want to help in that area, and we can match them up with people that want their lives to be better, and they can make a plan together to make that happen. So I look forward to people participating in that. We can also, through the volunteer center, help our neighborhood beautification and safety. There are people that are concerned, again, about the areas, certain neighborhoods that have fallen down in their home repair, or it's too weedy. So how do we fix that? Can we put neighborhoods together, have a neighborhood captain, people who want to participate, find out what's the issue with the neighbor? Is it they have a physical challenge that they can't get out and help with? And can we put a team together to go out and help that neighbor in their yard? So, we have lots of energy here. It's just a matter of putting those resources together and people getting those mutual goals together and working on them, taking very practical steps for Fairfield, Iowa. Some long-term goals that I think is worth Fairfield looking at and looking down the road towards is a more vibrant downtown. A long-term goal that I would really love to see a cultural corridor clear down to the railroad depot. Years ago, we tried to actually get ownership of the railroad depot. It was very difficult, actually. Ron Adam, and I want to thank Ron Adam because he did an amazing job trying to work with the railroad. I just can't say enough about how hard he worked, and we just couldn't get it done. But if we could grow as a city and become more vibrant, I'd like to see that. Another area that I'd like to see is we have 4 buildings that the city owns. They own the Carnegie Museum, which is the old library, the Park and Rec building, the Fairfield Library, and the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center. The best example that I want to share is the Fairfield Library Foundation and how it supports the library. Again, if we look back, 15, 20 years ago when budgets were cut in different departments. The library got hit very hard in their materials budget. It's much smaller than it used to be. If it weren't for the foundation, the library's foundation, and the funds that they have, which our own citizens have given over decades, then our library would struggle much more. Today, that foundation gives approximately $50,000 a year to the library to do different projects, such as computers, materials, a new TV, whatever it is that the library needs. That foundation is helping fill in the gap. So what if we had all of those foundations or those endowments for each one of those entities be more significant to help those entities survive, and not only survive but thrive. We want them to thrive, not just survive. Currently, the Carnegie Museum is bursting at the seams. Gene Lukey, who passed away just a couple months ago, and was a big supporter of the museum, he and I used to talk about how wonderful it would be if the Carnegie Museum could have the whole building. And I think it will get there eventually, but they're also going to need funds to support that building. There's not enough funds in the general budget to make that happen. So again, I'd like to see more endowment funds for each one of those entities. Now, I want to be very clear that I do not intend to suggest that we cut any of those budgets. I know that has been said that that was my plan, and I want to make it very clear that that is not in my plan. It was never a thought in my plan to cut any budget from Park and Rec, Library, or Carnegie. Those budgets are there. We want to support them as best we can through the city general fund. But I also know when budgets get tight and we didn't need a police car versus new equipment in the gym at Park and Rec, the police cars were going to win out every time. So how can we have both when we want both? If we can get our citizens and educate our people to, over the years, and again, I'm talking about multiple years, but if most everybody would commit to giving a small portion of their estate to a foundation in Fairfield, and it doesn't have to be one of these four, it's up to you, and it's up to you where your passions lie. Can you give 1 or 2%, 5%, 10%? It's up to you. I'm not mandating it. It's just a simple suggestion. And it would help these entities tremendously, and you would also be giving a legacy that you could feel good about after you're gone. So again, it's just a vision, it's a dream in my mind, and I wanted to share it, and I want to shine some light on those organizations because they have great resources and they make our town so much better, more lively, and what we love about Fairfield is to have great amenities. A couple other areas that I want to address that I've been asked about are 5G and smart meters. When that smart meters came, we opted out here personally at my own home. I've been doing some research on smart meters and 5G, and I'm really concerned that there is safety issues, and I'm concerned about surveillance and our privacy. Unfortunately, right now, the way I understand is that there are, through the FCC and even our state legislature, where the city's hands are a little bit tied, and that we can't have local control, if you will, in that area. So there's going to have to be some work to be done at those levels before things can change. I think the city is doing what they can do right now, but I'm very cautious about moving forward, and I'd prefer not to move forward at this time until we figure out those things and there's more research done. If you're interested in that area, please, you can go to YouTube. I found a couple YouTube videos where people are having health issues in different areas. In Europe, this is a big area. This is a big issue about 5G. So it's becoming more prominent. People are more concerned about it. So that's my stance, is that I would like to slow it down if we could. But I also know that that's going to take some work. Another area that I think we can look at for the growth of Fairfield is the 2-mile extraterritorial zoning that can be done. So that is something that it's zoning being done outside our city limit. We have to get a couple representatives from the county to be on our planning and zoning board. That would prep us for growth in the future. And I see that, again, we need to look 10 and 20 years down the road, not just the next 2 and 4 years. So I think that's important for city growth, for diversified housing, and also for good neighbors between the counties and the cities. Now we'll have a little bit of crossover between Vedic City and Fairfield, so both cities will become involved and we'll figure out how to deal with that. Last thing that I want to mention at this time is helping, again, our city pull people up out of poverty. Iowa's bottom tiers of counties do have some challenges in that area. I do think some of it's generational, some of it's the substance abuse that we have. There are different issues. It's very difficult. And I applaud Dee Sandquist, a county supervisor, for putting attention on this. What if we could get every citizen out of poverty in Jefferson County or in Fairfield? What a great accomplishment we would have. Long-term goal, very difficult to do, but let's have a big vision and see what's possible. See if we can make a little progress in that area. I think I've hit on a lot of my initiatives, and I think you might want to know, how do I differ from the other candidates? I think one of the ways I differ is because I know the community from all facets, and what's important to me is to be a well-balanced individual that can work with everybody and also create teams, work on mutual goals so we can work on those together. And I think I have that ability to bring people together, to work together, to find our common goals. It's interesting, I had somebody recently say to me, I have a lot of friends voting for you and I'm confused about that. There's been this party issue, Democrat versus Republican. I want to let people know that right now I am a registered independent. But for full disclosure, I'm not hiding that for most of my life, I have been a registered Republican. But I also have voted all over the map on an election. And that part, to me, is not important. So I've had a question about city's relationship with university. I think it's improved over the years. And I certainly hope that between city, business, and university, we can have more dialogue back and forth. And I know there's an interest from the university and the local businesses that they dialogue more, and also that there's some job opportunities for students coming through there. So I hope that continues to get better. Manufacturers luncheon, and there was a gentleman that got up and asked if anybody had hired from the university. And I didn't see anybody raise their hand. Now, I know that's not true because I know people who have graduated from the university that I know are working in town. But it's probably can be better. But it's matching up what people's needs are and what the university has to offer, or students. We want to work on practical steps in Fairfield, come together on the mutual goals that we have. Doesn't matter what party you belong to, we have mutual goals and we can work on them together. And I look forward to doing that with you. And I hope that you will support me, and I'm asking for your vote for a brighter future in Fairfield. Thank you.